that not amazing? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen. I've been coming to CrossPointe for 6 years now, but have only been actively serving in the church for about 3. And when I first started to serve, it was really more of an attempt to just kind of get connected with more Christ-centered people and just to kind of find better ways to fill my time. And after I kind of got myself involved in serving in various places, I started to realize just how much of just a fulfillment I've got and how much joy that serving brought into my life, and just came to realize just how much I did truly enjoy it, and realized how much of an impact serving would come to have in my life. And it's something that not only brought me joy just here serving at the church, but also kind of came in and started bringing me joy in my every day-to-day life. And it's actually a really huge deal that it is that way, just because before I came to know Christ, I led a very selfish lifestyle, just kind of all about me, what I can gain from people. But then God comes in and starts just kind of transforming my life and transforming my heart, and it's something that happened when He started to show me just how much He loved me. And it's something that I was able to start expressing through serving other people, just because of the love that He showed to me. He opened my eyes and made me able to love other people genuinely, and in turn just caused me to have a heart to serve, which has just been such a blessing in my life. And while I do serve here at the church on various ministries, such as Celebrate Recovery and Bumper Bag Market, it's something that people with a heart to serve are just able to kind of work into their whole lives, really. And it is a blessing, and those who serve, we don't do it to get any glory. We really don't, because it's not really always a glorifying position to be put in. Really, we serve because it glorifies God, and we realize that it's really not about us. So we come to a point in our lives really when we understand that. We understand that it's not about us, that it's about allowing God to do His work through us. And when we come to that realization, it's something that just opens up for endless possibilities. And when we get to that point, we are able just to see the ways that God is able to use us. And it truly is a blessing.
My name is Magdalene. For those of you who know me, I serve in the back. I've been at CrossPointe now for about 4.5 years. When I first came, I was broken. Had gone through some things with my kids, and I was just broken, angry, fearful, scared. Any word that you can name out, that was me. At the time, I didn't do women, didn't talk to women. Women were not a part of my life. Came to CrossPointe, was here for a while. Felt like I was being called to the worship team. So I went and talked to Spence. And of course, went and did the audition. Long story short, Spence was like, you can probably do service coordinator, maybe women ministry, maybe even voice lessons. Out of everything that he said to me that day, what scared me the most was the fact that he said the women's ministry. That was just like, yeah, no, I'm not going there, not happening, not doing it. So I went to the Waddler's room for a little bit, and being in the Waddler's room, I just kept feeling the tug, just a tug, that's not where you're supposed to be at. And sure enough, came right back to worship ministry. Started serving as a service coordinator to start, and from there it went to lights, and I've been in the back ever since. And I can tell you, for me, it's been a lot of growth. Wow. being able to sit in the back and just to watch the Holy Spirit move through a room is amazing. It's nothing like sitting in your seat and seeing the person next to you hold their hands. It is truly an amazing experience. And for me, that was just conviction. It was growth. It's led to me being discipled. It's led to me actually having coffee with women on a weekly basis. Go figure. And of course, it's led to me being up here tonight. So I would not change it for anything in the world at all. And it's truly been a blessing.
Protect and serve. Those were two words that I heard often growing up. I had a father who was in law enforcement, and I grew up watching him serve as a public servant for many, many years. I watched him lay down his life for people that he had never met before. And he was an awesome example of what it meant to serve selflessly and to give to others. And I wanted to be just like him when I grew up. I wanted to serve just like him. It wasn't really, at that point in my life, it wasn't so much about serving Jesus. It was just like I wanted to be like my dad. And that was the reason I wanted to serve others. So I followed in my dad's footsteps and pursued a career in law enforcement. Of course, in law enforcement, you tend to do a lot more serving than you do protecting. You serve people at some of the most sad, some of the most tragic times in their lives. You see the worst in society, you see evil, you see the brokenness. And sometimes you're the only positive person influencing some people's life. When I worked as a uniformed patrol officer, I worked in the highest crime rate area of the city, which comes along with that, drug, prostitution, violent crimes, that sort of thing. There were a group of guys that worked the same street corner every single day, 24/7, selling drugs. So crack cocaine mainly. And you know what they're doing. They work shift work just like we do. So when I was in between calls, I would go out and stand and talk to them for long periods of time. And one reason I did it was to deter crime, because as long as I'm standing there, they can't be selling crack, and somebody can't be purchasing crack. But it was also to help improve police-community relations, and on the selfish side, it was also to be able to, they would give me information in reference to other crimes, and that helped me in other cases. So there was a selfish side to it as well. After I came off patrol, I became a crime scene investigator, and one night I got called to a homicide. A young 20-year-old was shot and killed and died in the middle of the street. This young man died. He was a gang member, and he died because he denied membership into a gang. The gang leader found out that he denied membership, and this gang leader, who was the victim's best friend, quote unquote, had him killed because he denied membership, which is a sin of gangs. I didn't know who this young man was at this point. I had not seen him. I walked up. He was covered in a white sheet, just like you see in the movies. He was still in the middle of the street. I uncovered that sheet that night, and I immediately recognized him as one of those guys that I would get out and speak to. And that moment forever changed me, because of all those times that I was out there talking to him on that street corner. If I would have shared Jesus with him, would his life be different? Would he be laying in that street that night? I don't know that, but that is something I've struggled with for many years. Being in law enforcement and serving the public is difficult most days. People either love you or hate you, and so sometimes it's very difficult, but I want to continue to love and to protect and serve everyone, and to use my job as an opportunity to share Jesus and share the gospel to others. One of the statements here at CrossPointe is to serve your church, serve your city, and serve your world. I've served in different areas of the church over the years. I've served on DPK check-in, the Bean team, and the Welcome team, but my heart is actually in missions, international world missions, as well as inner-city missions. So in 2012, I actually had the opportunity to serve on 2 mission teams to Haiti. They were construction team mission trips, and so I wanted to go. To be honest with you, at that point, it was more like a bucket list thing. Thought it'd be a great experience, and it was something to check off my list. I thought it would be great. Go and help someone, and it would be awesome. You think you're going to go to a third world country and you're going to help them and you're going to change their lives. But the life that ends up getting changed is actually your own. They did way more for me than I ever did for them or could do for them. Even though I thought I had seen poverty before, you see poverty here in Valdosta. I've never seen poverty like this, but I've also had never seen the dependence on God like I saw in Haiti. And it compelled me to live differently and to love differently. And I struggled after I returned from Haiti. The struggle began as I was preparing to return home because I felt like I really wasn't returning home. I realized I really didn't find comfort here, and I was angry at people. I was angry at myself for taking even the simple things for granted. I had selfishly put value in material things and also my career because I was about, moving up the ladder and advancing in my career. And Haitians I saw put value in God because they do not have things. They don't have anything. All they have is God. When I returned, my life looked differently. I started selling my things and giving them away. And I had spent my career climbing the ladder. And that's how I had defined success for a very long time. I no longer desired to climb the ladder. As a matter of fact, I actually went down the ladder. I stepped away from a position that had rank and a lot of responsibilities. And I've never been at more peace and have more joy than I do now. Many people ask me if I feared going to Haiti, and my answer is no. What I fear is not doing what God has called me to do. And for some time, I longed to be back in Haiti. I just knew that I was going to go back there and live, be a missionary, be in a third world country, and I'm still willing to do that now if that's where He sends me. But I found out after a while that apparently that was not where I was supposed to be because I didn't go back to Haiti. But like I said, I fear not doing what He wants me to do, and I want to say yes to where He wants me to be and what He wants me to be doing. And sometimes that's right where you are. Your mission field may not be in a third world country. It may be your family, it may be your workplace, and it may be a friend or family or your very own city. Since coming back from Haiti, I've had the opportunity to go on mission trips with CrossPointe to Chicago and as well as New York with human trafficking. I went to Chicago back as part of the Unseen Project, which focused on seeing the unseen. And this experience, along with my experience with my job, started a passion for me for inner city ministry, which led me to serve with Bubs. And for those of you who do not know what that is, that's a busted up bike shop. It's down on Allstateville Road. We help kids fix bikes, and they're able to fix them and teach other kids to fix them. And it's a ministry outreach to teach them the skills and show them the love of Christ. And I got involved about a year and a half ago. And I'll be honest, there are some Saturdays, we're open on Thursdays and Saturdays, on Saturdays 9 to 12. After a long week of work, I'm getting called out all hours of the night. Sometimes on Saturday, I'll be honest, I don't want to go, I'm tired. But it's the face that you see on those kids of knowing that you showed up for them, because many of these kids don't have anybody who shows up for them. And that's what keeps me going back every Saturday. Last year, I had an opportunity to serve at a block party for Bubs, and I met a young man in the park. He actually happened to be there with his younger brother, and I immediately saw something in him, and I had an immediate connection. I found out he played for Valdosta Wildcats, played football, big football fan, and so I'm actually more of a Vikings fan, and I told him that. I said, but I'll still come to your game and watch you. And so sometime later, I decided when the season came around that I was going to go watch him, and I heard God speak to me. It's like, go to his away game. It's easy for you to go to his home game because it's here, it's in Valdosta, it's convenient. But I want you to go to his away game because I pursue you and show up in those faraway places, those broken places, those places that we feel like we're too far away removed from God. And he shows up for us. And he pursues us there. I want you to go to his away game. So I went to his away game in Thomasville, and I surprised him on the field afterwards. And the shock that he had that night was so overwhelming. He could not believe, his words was, I cannot believe you showed up for me. He told me he was going to call his mom on the way home on the school bus, and I found out that he didn't have family there watching him play. And he was so excited that somebody showed up for him. And that was on a Friday night. He didn't get home about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning from Thomasville. Next morning I went to Bubs, and guess who showed up for me? It was him. He showed up the next morning because he said, you showed up for me, I'm going to show up for you. going back to my time on patrol, I got a call to an unruly juvenile one day. His mom was kind of at her wit's end because he was not behaving. She thought he was in a gang and just did not know what else to do with him. He was not minding her. I could tell there was something that he was there and he was upset. So I asked her if I could speak to him by himself, and she said sure. So we went to a back room, went back there and talked to him. I took my badge off and laid it down. I said, I'm not talking to you as officer. I'm just talk to me as Shannon. And I said, tell me what's going on. And he broke down like a baby. This tough guy who's a gang member on the streets, tough out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, broke down like a baby. And he told me, he's like, I wish my mom would make me be home. He said, my friends, their parents make them be home at a certain hour. They care about them. Because she doesn't make me be home. She lets me do what I want to. And I wish my mom would make me be home. And I asked him, I said, why did you join a gang? And his response, which is a lot of them's response, is they have my back. They show up for me. They care about me. They are there for me. They are willing to die for me. In essence, a lot of times people, these young men and women join gangs too, but the reason they join them is a sense of belonging. Same reason why we're here tonight is to feel like we belong to something and to connect. It's the same reason why they join gangs. They're not bad people. They're people who make bad choices and not good choices. They want a place to fit in, a place of being. And I don't know about you, but that breaks my heart. Because we could be out there letting you know, instead of a gang having your back, is that we have your back. And more importantly than us having your back is that God has your back. And we should be telling them about Jesus, that there was a man whose blood was shed on a cross for him 2,000 years ago before he was even born. He didn't shed his blood in the street of Valdosta, but he shed his blood on a cross for him. And instead of them lying in a pool of blood covered in a white sheet, they could know about Jesus who hung in his own blood and will cover them with grace, white as snow. This requires us going out into the world, going places that make us uncomfortable. We must be willing to see the unseen, the ones most people don't see, the ones we don't want to see sometimes. But Jesus started conversations with strangers and fed hungry crowds. He embraced lepers. He healed the hurting. He took notice of widows and orphans. Jesus chose to be all there. He chose to be fully present. Jesus chose to show up. And as followers of Christ, we have to show up. We have to show up. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I'm Kara, if you don't know me. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about where I serve and what I do. So 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be employed by Wind Shaped Hands. And if you asked me that summer if I thought that that was fortunate, I would have said no way, because I was serving so much that I was like, why am I doing this? I am exhausted. I lost my why. And so I went through that summer just wrestling with, why am I doing this? Why did I sign up for this? Why did they hire me? I'm not equipped. I cop out. I get too tired. And so the Lord just really, wrapped his arms around me that summer, and he got me through it. And it was one of the most beautiful summers of my life, just because I got to see every aspect of serving the church, serving people and serving the Lord. So I always knew that I was called to ministry, but I ran from it with everything in me, and I've tried to do every major that I could find, and nothing has just seemed to work out. And because I knew what the Lord had called me to, and that was ministry, but that summer that was just refined, and I knew that it was children's ministry. And so I saw so many children come to know the Lord that summer, and I was in different communities, different churches that had so many people to serve, and then I went to churches that had no one to serve. And so just seeing that really gives you a new perspective on things. And so after that summer, I came back to Valdosta ready to go. I was ready to serve, I was ready to do, but then the enemy just snuck in, and he was like, okay, you need some rest. Like, you woke up at 4:30 every day that summer, you need some rest. So I came into CrossPointe, and I know so many people here are my family, my friends, and I came in with blinders on. Like those horses you see on the road, I had blinders on, and if somebody came up to me, I would literally like kick them away. Like, do not come up to me. I don't want to serve. Don't you know that I'm tired? And so I just began to I began to lose, faith in myself, because I was like, here I was at this awesome point in my life, and now I make excuses to serve in my church. And so that happened for about 6 months. I just was like, no, I'm not going to serve. I'm exhausted. I work a full-time job. My time is my time when I'm off. And I was very selfish. I'm very independent, and my time, like I said, was my time. And the Lord was like, no, it's not. Like, you are on this earth to bring me glory. Your time is not your time. And so I wrestled so hard with hearing that, but also hearing the enemy like, girl, you don't want to set an alarm on Sunday mornings. You can go to the 11 o'clock service. You don't have to set an alarm. You can get up, like easy breezy, everything's fine. And so then I started feeling convicted about not serving, and then feeling convicted about making excuses as to why I didn't serve. So Callie Bailey texted me, and she said, Kara, why don't you come serve in DPK? You would be awesome at it. I think you should come at least just one Sunday and see what it's all about. So I was like, okay, I'll go. But I literally, y'all, I said yes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this one time. I'm going to make myself look better. People are going to say, oh, she serves, how sweet. She's a good Christian girl. Like, she's in here at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning ready to serve these little kids with donuts on their face. And so I was like, all right, I'll do it one time, never go back. And the Lord had other plans. So I went to DPK, and I absolutely loved it. I haven't wanted to miss a Sunday. And I went into it with selfish intent. I went into it to make myself look good. Bringing God glory was not on my mind. I was like, you know what, I'm going to look good, and I'm going to get through this. But in the church parking lot, I prayed. I was like, Lord, give me a pure heart and give me pure intentions, because right now I'm doing this for myself. I'm not doing this for you. And I was just kind of wrecked in that moment that I even got to that point, that I felt like I had to make myself look good to come to church. Like, no. And so I was able to see the Lord in every single one of those kids. And I finally found the beauty in serving, because I actually went. And I went with a pure heart and pure intentions, and the Lord rocked my world. And I know I'm 22 years old, and you're like, okay, what do you know about being tired? Like, you're in your prime right now, girl. You're not tired. But I am a nanny of 2 babies. One is 1 year old, and the other is 2 years old. And y'all, I get tired. And at the end of the day, I'm just like, Like, when Sunday rolls around, I'm like, do I really want to go be with kids again? Like, come on. Like, Lord, can you just call me somewhere else? Like, but he was like, no, this is where I have you, and this is where I want you. And every single Sunday, he shows up and rocks my world in there. And I just want that for everyone. I know that we're not all called to children's ministry. I ran from it for so long because I was like, I don't want to deal with snotty noses. I don't want to deal with donut faces. But in those donut faces, you see it click for the first time. You see them realize who Jesus is for the first time. And it is so awesome because sorry. They can take what they learn in DPK, that spark, that light bulb that comes up, and you see it. It's not just like oh, I think they, learned about Jesus today. I think they're having a good time. No, you see it in their eyes when they're running down that hallway to come tackle you down, to give you a hug, so they can go in there and worship the Lord. And they go in there and they learn the same truths that y'all learn in here. Like, they're not learning just, Jesus loves me, this I know. They're learning the same truths that y'all are learning in here. And they can take that when they get older. Those truths are ingrained in their brains. And they learn that at such a young age, and they can take it with them throughout their whole entire lives. And that's just what's so awesome to me, because they can go in DPK, learn these truths, and talk to their families about them, because y'all are learning the same things. And so, I'm going to close with this. It's a story, I wrestled with telling it for like 2 days, because I can't get through it without crying my eyes out like a crazy. But, it's just about why, the time it clicked for me, and why, it's like why I do what I do. So, like I said, that summer, I served with Wind-Shaped Pants. That was 2 years ago. And I traveled with 22 people, just across the, eastern part of the United States. And I randomly found myself in Douglas, Georgia. And I was like, oh, come on. Douglas out of the whole United States, are you kidding me? I'm from Fitzgerald, so that's right down the road. And I just knew that Douglas was just, it was, it's little perverse, I think that's the word. And I just knew that we would have some very troubled campers, and that was my week 2. Week 1, I was, yeah, let's do this, I'm ready. But week 2, I was like, Lord, get me home. And I still had 9 weeks left of that. And so I'd call my mom every day, and I'm like, Mommy, you're just going to pick me up in Douglas, because you're right in Fitzgerald. You're going to pick me up and take me home, and I ain't ever coming back. She's like, no, you're not. So I had 34th graders. They were my little giraffes. They called me Mama G. And I had this little camper. His name was Ronnie. I mean, this big around in the 3rd grade. He was the sweetest little thing, but he had some anger issues. And he had a mom and dad, obviously, but they weren't in his life. He lived with his aunts and uncles and his grandma, whoever could keep him. And he was very aggressive, but that was the only way he knew how to show that he was hurting. Or when he hugged you, I kid you not, took me down like a pro wrestler, because that was the only way he knew what to, he just had so much love in him that he never really got to show. And so it was the 3rd day of camp, and y'all, I was tired. And like I said, I was ready to go home. I left the hotel at 4:30 that morning, got to church, and I was like, Lord, you're going to have to show up here and walk me through this day, because I cannot do it by myself. I need to know, that this is bringing you glory. I need to know that I'm not doing this for nothing. I lost my why. And so that day I was setting up. Camp didn't start until 7:15. And I was setting up, and it was about 6:45. I was getting my face painted. And then I was just talking. I was complaining. I ain't even gonna lie. I was like, Lord, these campers are about to show up. Y'all ready for this? I'm not. And everybody was like, me either. I'm not ready. So I was like, good. I'm not the only one struggling. And then I hear, Mama! And I was like, I know that ain't Ronnie. Y'all, this boy is charging down the road at 6:45 in the morning. Camp doesn't start until 7:30. And I was like, baby, what are you doing? Like, why are you by yourself on this road? It's dark. Where's your family at? Do they know where you are? What are you doing? And he was like, he tackled me down and he said, Mama, I just wanted to be with you today. I said, well, honey, you know, camp starts at 7:15. Why are you walking by yourself? And he said, well, they couldn't take me today. I just wanted to be with you because you love me. And you're proud of me and you tell me that. And you taught me about Jesus. And then I knew that that was my why. Y'all, people just thirst for love. That's what they want. That's what they crave. I crave love. You crave love. Everyone does. It doesn't matter who you are. We all want to be loved by someone. And how selfish is it of us as Christians who know about a good Father who pours out love, and we don't tell people about it? Like little Ronnie, he just wanted to be loved. And he learned that week about Jesus who loves him. And he learned that week that Jesus loves him. And you know what? He loves the Ronnie who has anger problems. And he loves the Ronnie who, you know, tackles people down on the football field when he's not supposed to in Little League. And he knows that Ronnie loves his broken self. And I'm just like, God, this is why I do this. And that's why I serve, y'all, because if it means that I have to wake up on a Sunday morning after I woke up at 6 o'clock every other day of the week to show somebody in there that I love them, and most importantly that Jesus loves them, fine. I can sacrifice that because he sacrificed every single bit of everything for me. And when you truly see that, and when you find your why, and you realize that it's not about you, that your time is not your own. You were here to serve Jesus and serve others. And when you realize that, your life is going to be just shocked, and you're going to be rocked like I was. Because I don't have to be selfish anymore with my time. And yes, I'm not saying that I wake up every Sunday morning rip-roaring and ready to go. I wake up and I'm like, okay, like, I gotta get up. But I get up because I want those kids in there to experience what Ronnie experienced for the first time. And he can take that with him for the rest of his life. And I pray that for those children in there as well. And I pray that for y'all too. So if you haven't found your outlet, I pray that you pray earnestly about it, because I want you to feel the joy that I feel in that room. And I want you to feel the joy that it feels when you see a Ronnie that gets it for the first time and realize that he is loved and that he is forever loved. Y'all, it's so important to pour into these kids and to pour into wherever you're serving. But that's why I serve.
How are all y'all doing? Good. Okay, I was wondering, did everybody slip out? So it's November 1st. Hallelujah. The weather is still hot. We're still in Georgia. But anyway, we're glad you guys are here. And can we give those ladies another round of applause that just shared their hearts? I'm sure by now you have caught on that tonight's Flourish is on serving and service. But honestly, you know, the past two sermons at CrossPointe, if you're not from CrossPointe, but the past two sermons here at CrossPointe have been on serving, and it's the heart of serving. That's what we wanted Flourish to be about tonight. We just want to talk about our heart and why we serve. I think that probably we all know maybe how to find out where we can serve. If you don't, these ladies are going to be available to help you afterwards to know more about that. But to be honest, and I think this is what we heard from all four ladies that have already shared, and then Brittany and Kimberly are going to share also, but if we don't have our why, if our heart isn't in the right place, then our service it suffers. It doesn't look quite like Christ. And so tonight, this is Kimberly Lee, and this is Brittany Hammock, and we're just going to wrap up tonight, just kind of giving a little overview about service, and they're going to answer some questions and talk about some things. In Flourish, we actually do have an area of service within Flourish, and it's really not, we don't have like a bubs per se just for Flourish. What we want to do is encouragement, and so they do know all the areas within CrossPointe to help you find your spot if you're interested in that. But we also do different things, like we wrote notes of encouragement last year and did different things like that. But we are going to talk tonight about serving and our hearts for it, and they're just going to kind of share their hearts of why, because these two ladies, that's like their heartbeat is serving and helping others find their spot to serve. So if y'all will just kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves and your heart, for why do you have such a heart to serve here at CrossPointe and in our community, and even on, I know you've been on a mission trip, so even in those areas.
Hello. Oh, sorry. I'm not very technological. But I think for me, my journey, I guess, with service started when I was in high school. I really, around that time, just started to pore over the scriptures more and started to just read the Bible more. And I wanted to know more and more about Jesus. And all I knew was that I wanted to look as much like him as possible. So we see in scripture over and over again that Jesus did serve us. And I think one story that always really stuck out to me, that really intrigued me, was the story of Jesus and how he washed the disciples' feet. And then in John, he goes on to say, hey, disciples, look what I've done for you. I've washed your feet, and now I want you to go and do this for other people. I've set the example, and so I want you then to go and imitate that. And that just has always stuck with me, and I thought, okay, well, I want to do that. I want to imitate you in that, and I want to show you that I love you by doing this, and I want to love other people by serving them. So that's kind of how I got started, just really with a heart for service.
I think my journey in serving is really kind of just beginning. I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but I've gone to CrossPointe since we were in a warehouse in Bremerton, which was how many years ago?
7.5.
Okay, 7.5 years ago. And my perspective on service has always been a little bit different, definitely different than Kimberly's. But I grew up Catholic school, married in Catholic church, the whole 9 yards. And it's, just different, the idea of service. And so my idea of service was always serving outside of the church. I've always been very involved in several nonprofits here in the community, but for some reason, I've always kept serving within the church really at arm's length and not really fully jumping in and trying to help. I'm always willing to help, but need to be asked and pushed to serve within the church. So my journey really, like I said, is just beginning, and I'm really looking forward to it, because I've just noticed that as I grow closer and closer to God, it's so clear how important it is and how blessed you can become just by serving other people and really just by comforting others, those who you can be with every single Sunday, and those within the community, and how that can really impact your life and theirs.
That's so good. we have talked earlier, and I know sometimes some of us kind of get caught up in serving maybe not for the right reasons. Sometimes we get caught up in serving to try to please. We try to please others, and sometimes we even are trying to please God. And I think we can all relate to that. So what about y'all? Have you ever found yourself serving out of a heart trying to please for the wrong reasons?
Yes, definitely for me. Like I told you a little bit about my story from high school, and my motivation, my heart for that was definitely genuine. But as time went on, it was just kind of a gradual thing. I don't remember on this day it started to happen, but definitely in my adulthood, in my college years, I started to get this, I guess, kind of obsession with people pleasing, and I just want to make people happy. I want people to like me, and that really started to affect my walk with Christ, and it kind of started to mirror my relationship with Him as well. I just thought, okay, I want to do things to please Him, and I have to kind of create this resume so that others will think, oh, wow, you're really great, and then so God will think, man, you've done an awesome job, way to go, you're doing great things for me. It just was never enough. It never became enough, and it just left me with bitterness and a heavy heart. And I definitely had to walk through a season of people speaking some hard truth to me about that. And it is something that I still battle with to this day, having to just refocus my heart constantly of why do I serve it? It's not to please people, and it's not even for God to like me more, because He can't. He loves me as I am, but it is just to honor Him, to glorify Him, and to show Him that, to display that, and also to love people. So that's kind of my journey with that.
Mine was not necessarily more about pleasing, but it was definitely much more of an obligation. I know several years ago when I was on the rotation for the 3-year-old room, and every time my time would roll around, I would really, just being completely honest, I would dread it. Like, oh, I'm on the nursery today, got to go there early, gonna have to stay late, and it just got to where I wasn't serving with the right heart. And eventually I was having my second child. I was hugely pregnant, and I was kind of, to be really transparent, was really looking forward to it. I was like, okay, I'm really big now. This is my out. I'm getting out of the 3-year-old room. And it's embarrassing to say that that's really how I was looking at it, and it was totally with the wrong heart, with the wrong perspective. And I wasn't looking at the children like, how can I serve you? How can I help you? Because a part of what we did tonight was create this booklet, and if you've opened it, which I hope you have, we put in there kind of a self-reflection and self-awareness about maybe what you've been through in your life and how you can use your experiences in these different chapters of your life, positive or negative experience, to really find out where you should serve and what you should be doing. Where's your heart? Do you need to get outside of your box and serve somewhere that makes you uncomfortable, or do you need to serve, for instance, children? Because I know that sounds contradictory to what I just told you, but kids are my thing. Like, I truly, truly have a heart for children, especially children who are experiencing any sort of heartbreak. The first 2 chapters of my book would be centered around my parents' divorce, and it was just a big part of my life, and so I think back to it.
Well, I definitely think we have all served with the right heart, and I think we have all served with the not right heart. And we talked about Luke 10, 38 through 42, and it's a story about Mary and Martha. And everybody, all the women, for some reason, they always love Martha, and nobody likes Mary. And but there's a real key part of that story. And let me read it really quick. It says, Mary and Martha. Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. Excuse me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. These are the key words, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. And as we've talked about, serving with the right heart, serving with the wrong heart, when you look at this story, it's not that what Martha was doing was wrong, but Martha's heart wasn't starting in the right place. Mary was spending time with the Lord. It's not that Mary wasn't going to probably get up and help Martha serve Jesus dinner. But Mary started with time with Jesus. And I think for us, that's key for us. And we've said it up here tonight. The ladies have said it. We all have had times where we don't start with Jesus. And our hearts aren't in the right place. Thinking about if we started with time with Jesus and we sought his face and sought his wisdom, because the one thing we don't want tonight, this isn't about, well, wow, they just really honed in on us and what we are or aren't doing. No, this is about our heart for the Lord, our love for him and our love for others. And so tell us a little bit, because the thing too is we want to encourage each other, we've all done times where we've served without the right heart, but we've also served where, wow, I think I kind of like that, and I got that maybe on the right track. So what about y'all? Have y'all had some times where you do feel like you served with the right heart?
Yeah, definitely. There have been times. There's definitely been times that I have served the right heart. I guess one thing that comes to mind for me is I had the opportunity after college for a little while to move to France for several months and to live there and do some mission work. And it was a difficult time for my family. My brother was going through a lot and had been put in jail, and there was just a lot of family drama going on. And I really wanted nothing more than just to come back home. And that opportunity was presented to me, like, hey, you can do this or not. But as I prayed through that, I really felt the Lord just pressing in on me to just stay, to be obedient to what he had called me to, that whatever was going on back at home did not take him by surprise. And so just through that, maybe going in at first when things got crazy with a doubting heart, I guess, it was kind of a scary time, but I was able to take that before the Lord, and just let the Holy Spirit change my heart on that, and be able just to stick it out and serve, and to see how the Lord used that to change lives and to change my life.
I think back to, this was just probably a few months ago, but I have a 5-year-old, and she came running out of church, and she said, Jesus is a Dalmatian. And I was like, what? She kept repeating it over and over again, Jesus is a Dalmatian. And I was like, okay. And then I looked at her paper, and it said, Jesus is salvation. And I was like, oh. But it really, really stuck with her. And even though she didn't quite get it right, I just kept thinking, like, wow, this is when I really started feeling convicted about serving, because someone, that I don't even know, who volunteered their time in there, really took the time to teach her about Jesus. And it just made me feel convicted that I don't even know who this person is, and they took that time. They didn't sit in there and play on their phone or, walk around the room in a bad mood. They actually were upbeat and were excited and made her excited, and she just came out with just a heart full of joy, and that Jesus was a Dalmatian, and it was wonderful. It was perfect. And I just think back to that because it was just a really good time. And I think about, too, when I think about serving, when you hear a really good worship song and it's dark in here and you got your eyes closed and you're just all in the moment, and it just feels like all of your anxieties, all of your problems that you have that day are gone. I think about that like when you're serving. You know, when I've ever been to the soup kitchen here in town, you're in that moment, and you may dread going into it, and you may, be fine afterwards. But when you're in that moment and you're serving other people, and you truly have your heart in it, and you do see that your anxieties and your problems probably are nothing compared to others, that it fills your cup so much. Like Shannon said, it's more helpful for you than it is for them. But that's what it reminds me of, is just hearing a really good worship song. Is how we should see it when we're serving others, that everything else just goes away and you're just all in.
Wow. This has truly been just a great night of hearing from these ladies and their hearts. And I know all of you guys probably have stories that you would love to share too. One of the things that I don't want to forget, though, is Brittany and Kimberly, they have the booklet. Did everybody get a booklet when you came in? We're not taking these up. These aren't, like homework or whatever. These are just things that we made for y'all to have to help you maybe go home and just use it for your own personal use to pray through, talk to the Lord about, process, and, see if kind of walking through your life, and maybe there is an area that you really get excited about or you really enjoy doing. And, and come and talk to one of us, or anybody here at CrossPointe on staff, or any of these girls on the Flourish team would love to talk to you more about how we can help you figure out where it is that the Lord is leading you to serve. Scripture does tell us that every believer has a gift. And I think one of the most encouraging things that I've heard tonight has been just these women, and I know personally, just the peace and the joy and the fulfillment you truly do feel when you are being used by God for His kingdom work. There is nothing that feels better. Absolutely nothing. That's gonna. Do y'all have anything encouraging you would want to say? Any nugget that you want to give these women as we wrap it up?
I would just say I love what you said about Mary and Martha, and I definitely think that, just from my own experience, that if we don't start at the feet of Jesus, then our service can very much become about us and just self-centered, and that is where a bitter heart and kind of a burdensome heart for service can start to cultivate. And so just for me, and I would encourage you ladies, just starting there, like spending time with Jesus and remembering like who He is, what He's done for us, and out of that, there's so much freedom, and it creates just a heart of rest rather than a heart of heaviness. And just remembering that each one of you, whether you feel like it or not, some days we've all been gifted. The Lord has given us each unique things to add to the body, and just so finding out where can you use your gifts to be a part of this church and to serve as a part of this church, because you are needed and you are of value, and it is a great way just to fulfill the commandments, to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love one another like He's loved us.
I guess I'm done.
No, you're not.
No, I just encourage you to really fill out the booklet. I know that it might seem troublesome and too difficult to even sit there and think about, but I think it really could be very helpful in identifying if you're having a hard time knowing where you should be, what would be perfect for you, and just praying about it, and just using this to your benefit.
Thank y'all so very much. That's the November Flourish, our first ever November Flourish. Brittany and Kimberly are going to be right out here in the foyer. I don't know if you noticed the big white boards. They're going to be standing at that desk. They would love to talk with you about different areas that are available to serve here at CrossPointe or in our community. again, we just really want to help you love the Lord and love each other. That's really what we're here for, and that's what this is about. I do want to mention November 29th. You're going to want to mark your calendars because that is our annual Coffee Cookies Carols. That is Flourish. Yes, right. Woo! And that's all Christmas music, lots of cookies, lots of hot chocolate, lots of coffee. It's just a really great night to welcome in the season to celebrate Jesus and his birth. So that's when we will see you again, is November 29th. Don't forget to check things out. And we also have a new thing that, tonight. We have a prayer wall out there. And this is a really cool thing Kimberly Marshall is doing. And if you have a prayer that you would like to write down and pin on it, or if you would like to take someone's prayer request and pray over that. So that's out there as well. And we also have a photo booth. So please go get your photo, #Flourish. And we will see you all November 29th. And please bring every friend you have. See you guys later.